Welcome to another episode of Corporate CPR, where we breathe life back into your organization, projects, and processes, giving you insights to recovery and avoiding corporate mortality events. Today, we'll be talking about how mindfulness can impact your organization's ability to be successful. And joining us to contribute to the conversation is Dr. Eric Holsapple. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on today. I'm excited to
Yeah.
be here.
Would love to hear a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I'm a real estate developer by trade. I've been in the business approaching 40 years. And I was successful young as the CEO of an international company, ran their US division, but I wasn't very happy. I was not healthy at all. I was stressed. I was single. But I had all the title and, Mercedes and all those kind of things. And it just, it led me into a journey when I was just turned 30 of regaining my health. I returned to university to get a doctorate in economics. I thought maybe changing my career to teach. I found yoga. And that was my first entry into mindfulness. So I thought I might have a university career, but I was too entrepreneurial. And I really felt it was constrained with financially, that I enjoyed doing traveling and skiing and a lot of things that took money. So I didn't go down that route. I ended up teaching adjunct part-time faculty member for 20 years and helped the university start the real estate center and a lot of different things. I did teach full-time a few years in there, but mostly adjunct, and ran a real estate business. I was mostly a closet meditator when I started. Just, I didn't mention to anybody I was meditating. It was very personal, very private. But eventually I started seeing some employees struggle with different things. And in conversations, I just made an offering. Several took me up on it and made a big difference. And we started what's called a seed group in our company, where we just met monthly and read a book and, did some practices. Before I knew it, the room was full. A few years later, the management team got together and adopted mindfully creating community as our vision statement. And then we brought in 8-week mindful-based stress reduction, and we have a mindful company. And I decided to share it out with the world. So that's what's happening.
Well, so mindfulness, I guess, carries a lot of probably connotation to it. So maybe share with us what mindfulness means.
Yeah. Well, I hear some in the business community saying, "Oh, that's woo-woo," by meaning, we're going to hold hands and sing kumbaya. And I think woo-woo is what's going on in the world. The lack of focus, lack of attention, doing things like political stalemates that are just terrible for business. To me, mindfulness is focus. And particularly, we teach to be happy and to focus on what we choose to focus on. And it's tremendously beneficial to business, improving bottom line, improving health, in almost all aspects of it.
And so you just mentioned that, a lot, like what you think and focus about is important. And I think, both in a work environment and a personal environment, maybe a lot of our thought patterns are trained or conditioned. So how do you change that? Like, for instance, a good example is, you get those really critical bosses, and they just seem to notice the critical things first, right? The things that are wrong, rather than, noticing maybe a balance of what's right and wrong. So how do you change that thought pattern?
Well, it depends on what you mean. I mean, I can't change the boss's thought pattern. I can only change my own.
No, I meant if
Right?
the boss wanted to. Yeah.
Well, the way the boss would change it is to start noticing what they're doing, to start being aware of what they're saying, and to develop more awareness about that. And I would say I've noticed, and being an employer isn't that much different than parenting sometimes, is so much more effective to notice the good. And if you're going in to correct somebody and correct them and correct them and correct them, it doesn't work. It's generally because your relationship isn't strong enough. Your awareness and your relationship, or maybe they're just not a fit. and there may be something with that, but assuming that's not the case, I mean, finding ways to connect better, to listen deeply with the person and find something, because just correcting, I mean, if you're desperate and it's the last minute, you try to correct something, but generally longer term, building a relationship and doing something more foundational is more effective than that. So if you find yourself repeatedly doing something that's not working, step back, try to improve the relationship. And if it, and if it isn't working, maybe you need to make a change. Maybe it's the wrong person for the job. But it's not a powerful way to lead, to just constantly be correcting and criticizing. It's not good for the person, and it's not good for the employer either.
Right. So I guess what I'm wondering is if you find that these mindfulness activities can help a person change the way they approach, or how does that work then
Well,
in the mind?
first of all, you start seeing people as people, not as just a means to getting your job done. You start seeing somebody as a whole person that has needs and feelings and things just like you do. And you treat them like a person, not, well, I just find that so often we know enough about somebody to get what we want from them. And it's just not that genuine. And people see through that. If we want to change that dynamic, it's caring about the person as a person. And yes, the job has to get done. Of course it does. Yes, we need to make a profit. Of course we do. We'll be out of business. That goes without saying. But it doesn't have to be like the lead in of every conversation. That's something to look at, weekly, monthly, how we doing with the stats and those kind of things. But day to day, I want to be present and connect to the people that I'm dealing with, that I'm working with. And I want to be present to the customer, the ones that I'm dealing with. And if all I'm thinking about is those end results all the time, then I can't be in both those places. I can't be with you and thinking about how this podcast is going to get rated at the end at the same time. So I say, the results are going to take care of themselves. And of course, if I don't get the results that I want, then I'm going to make some changes to make sure I do get them. And I'm going to check in on them and exactly, but that shouldn't be carrying every conversation and every meeting and those kind of things. So we recommend, one of the things we do is something, we'll go out and just have a half hour, or we're doing a round in here now. We'll go out and have a coffee or lunch with not talking about work, but just talking about the person. Get to know them a little better. What are their struggles? What are their kids' names? What are their kids going through? Those kind of things, and get to know the person better. And not just so I can get what I need, because, they're people. Just
Absolutely.
like my family is, and my best friends from high school and all those things. I mean, I just think there's another level there. And then once you have that, you form a trust level and a communication level. And obviously there's still a hierarchy and things have to get done. And if they're not, you make changes along that. But we can treat people as people, and people know that. People sense when you're genuine. And you care about them. And the other thing we say is, your family comes first. To say the job comes first isn't really genuine. The
Right.
person's family is going, that's why they have the job, so they can bring money home and do that. So for me to expect someone, and of course they have to show up to work regularly and all those kind of things, but I encourage people to absolutely put your family first. I know that's why you're here. And if you can't do that and get your job done, it's probably the wrong place for you. But I don't think that's genuine either, to expect someone to, cherish this great corporation that is really just a accumulation of people.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that that mindfulness can have impact to ROI. How is that? What is the tie there?
Well, there's a couple. One is, for instance, Aetna found, they did a study of 13,000 employees in their mindfulness program. They found a $2,000 annual savings in healthcare costs and a $3,000 savings in productivity, or increase in productivity per employee. So primarily it comes from better health and better focus. And it's just amazing when you start looking at it, how much time we waste. So we've incorporated here a half hour a day that people can do mindfulness on the clock. They can take a mindful walk. They don't all meditate. It's fine. We do yoga a half hour once a week, have somebody come in, and do those little things. And we have found that productivity is higher. And that, when you go around, people are on their Facebook, they're texting home, so we encourage you to get those things done outside of work and come. And when you are at work, be engaged in work. When you're at a meeting, don't have all your screens open and all that kind of stuff. We're having a meeting now. If you have to do that, step outside so we can meet. Now, I'm not saying it never happens and I don't ever do it, or there's always, but I mean, generally we say, let's pay attention to what we're doing and be focused. We start meetings with a little centering, just a little breathing or something to bring everybody to the meeting and set their intention on the target. What are we doing? The meetings are quicker. They're more focused. They're more productive. I mean, I don't like meetings particularly Zoom, that we went to. So anything that can limit them and make them more productive and effective, I'm for.
So, what do you think is the value when you're doing these mindfulness, like taking that half an hour and people are going on walks, etc.? What is it that you think is actually the benefit? Is it breaking off from work? Is it, focusing on something? Is it not being tied to a technology? Like, what do you think the root value, I suppose, is when you're doing these half hours?
All of those things. All of those things. We just have a constant, the stress level in society right now is crazy. It was crazy before the pandemic and it got on steroids during that, even worse. And with the political rhetoric and everything else, the stress level is crazy. So anything we can do to clear out the stress level and let people focus more and connect with each people more is productive to the business. Because it doesn't, punching a clock here doesn't do anything for me, right? Just having some body here isn't what we're interested in, actually getting the job done,
right?
And some creativity with it, which is mindfulness is pretty good with too, and looking at some other ways of doing it. And if we have some 6,000 thoughts a day, one layered on top of another, and I don't know about you, but mine aren't all that helpful or productive. So I learned that, it's like playing baseball. I don't swing at every pitch. I don't take every thought. I learned through meditation to let those thoughts go and only foster and grow the thoughts into ideas and manifest them into things if they're actually part of my vision and part of where I want to go and part of where the organization is going and those kind of things. The other thoughts, thanks for sharing, but that's not what we're doing. That's not where I'm going, because those thoughts are, they're so random. Is what I've learned. And I'm not my thoughts. I have thoughts. I have some great thoughts. I also have some very unholy thoughts and unhelpful thoughts. And I think that's what we're seeing out there in the world. People just acting on impulses and thoughts.
Right.
That
very much the focus of your truth, which the challenge with that is that it I guess glorifies each individual, and so we don't learn to fight through things. I find it with my daughter. She doesn't struggle. She doesn't like to struggle. Everything's the easy path, and you take whatever emotion you have and you run with it, rather than really filtering, like, should I be feeling, yes, I feel this way, but what should I be feeling? Maybe, or like, how would you
and let
approach
us
that?
feel it. And two things. One is feelings come and go like thoughts, right? But if I stuff them down, then that's not helpful. So to go ahead and feel it, number one, and you'll notice if you allow them, they don't last that long. And then also through some routines, you can start generating, like, just take the simple act of gratitude. If anybody didn't want to do any other thing, just to start thinking about how grateful you are for your daughter and how grateful she is for her best friend and her mother, and just start thinking, we start looking for things to be grateful for. There's an
Mm,
after image to it that it isn't just the words, it's that sets the mindset that the same thing on the negative. If all
right.
I'm listening to is ranting political rhetoric, I hate
Hmm.
everybody.
Hmm.
And I don't want to hate everybody. So I
Yep.
try to put myself in a mindset of more gratitude, and that generates a different emotion.
Mm,
So I find, and I can't control every emotion, but can I start being aware of it? And when I'm not having that emotion, be there, maybe then take the walk, rather than just responding, letting it go, letting it pass down. But starting to notice those emotions is also mindfulness. What is going
mm,
on with me? I'm really upset. Why? Normally, when I'm upset, it's something in me, not necessarily what somebody said. It triggered something that I have. So,
mm.
what is that? I'm really upset. I don't want to respond that way. I'm going to wait, until I find something else. Or if I do, and I'm not perfect, I can be quick. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
So,
Let's start over. Let's reload.
right. You mentioned, that there's a lot of one of the reasons that, to do this is that there's a lot of stress in the world. So when you come back, the stress is still there. So how does the mindfulness help you change how stress is impacting you?
Well, the stress is still there in the world, but it doesn't have to all live in me.
Mm,
That's once you're aware of it. And I'm not saying you're not going to have any stress. I mean, that's fairyland. Okay. But the level of stress and noticing it, I can decide. I mean, the simple act of accepting things the way they are, that doesn't mean I don't want to change them, doesn't mean that I like them, but to actually acknowledge the way things are and accept them reduces stress tremendously. Stress is resistance. What I resist persists. So, for instance, if I have a kid, I have 3 kids, and I'll just say a hypothetical. If I have a kid that's doing something that I don't like, right? They're doing it whether I accept it or not.
mm,
Once I accept something, my mind opens and I see all kinds of possibilities to change it, possibly, right? Particularly if it's something I'm doing. If I'm resisting it and not accepting it, my mind's closed. And I don't have all the options. I just have resistance and trying to beat it and trying to blah, blah, blah. That's stress. Also, stress lives in thoughts, I find. Living in the gap, we call, is the gap when one thought stops before another one starts, is where I find in those quiet pieces of silence is peace, joy, happiness, not in thought. I can have
mm,
thoughts about being happy, but take laughter or something that's genuine. I mean, that's not a thought. That's just, I'm just present.
mm,
And that's not stressful. So periods of meditation, if somebody chooses that, everybody doesn't have to meditate to be mindful, but helps you clear those out and start noticing a separation between thoughts and who we really are, and consciousness, and those kind of things. So the thoughts still go on sometimes, but I can operate not being part of that also, and just be here with you. uh and that is less stressful. I'm not saying, I mean, the world doesn't change, your perception of the world changes.
mm.
There's
So
still
one
there's
of
still all kinds of
yeah,
nastiness out there.
absolutely. Well, so a question that I guess I have kind of two questions. So one, I've heard of well, they called it mindfulness yoga, but really what it meant was actually like doing chores at the yoga retreat. And but like and so what I took from it is like when you're doing something like that, like sweeping, for instance, if you just focus on the sweeping and actually what the movement is and what you're doing, then you're not thinking about anything else. So one, I guess, is that a form of mindfulness, is like trying to focus
Yes.
exactly what you're doing.
Yes. Well, if you're brushing your teeth, brush your teeth. If you're washing your hands, wash your hands completely.
Mm,
Those kind. Now, uh, we all multitask. I mean, I'm not saying that you're going to do it, but what we work on too is just to be focused on what I want to focus on. And so a lot of things are training to be able to do that. When I choose to really be able to focus with a customer or with a child or with a mate or whatever it is, to actually a lot of the formal practices are training myself to be able to focus on what I want to focus on, and to the exclusion of everything else. Now, I'll still have a lot of other things going on. We're going to be multitasking. It's just, I mean, particularly in this day and age, it's just part of us.
Mm,
I can't focus on all those things. I can skip from one thing to the other and not
right.
really pay attention to any of them. Or can I say, no, I'm going to focus on washing my hands right now, or sweeping, or talking with somebody, listening. I mean, listening is a skill that mindfulness is just, it's a lost art. I
Mm,
mean, to actually listen to another human being, we just figure we know what they're going to say, and we're so prepared to say, what we're getting ready to say, what we're going to say,
right. Right.
the cute answer or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And then we go, oh, and what did you say? It's so it's there's so much there. But yes, sweeping, washing the dishes, making your bed, all those kind of things can be, mindfulness can be anything.
Mm,
It doesn't have to be meditation or yoga. It's just, can you pay attention to what you're doing and notice when you go away? Because we all go away too, right? We all go, boom, we're up in our thought minute. But as soon as I notice, I'm mindful and present again, and I bring it back.
so can you, I guess two questions. Let's stay down at the lower level first before I have a more scalable question. But you mentioned meditation. So can you talk a little bit about maybe somebody who hasn't tried it? Because you look out there and
Yeah,
there's tons of types of meditation. So can you talk us a
tons.
little through
Yeah.
like what the different types are, I suppose, and how somebody can find what fits their needs?
Well, there is all kinds of meditation out there, and there's all kinds of apps,
Mm,
that can help. A guided meditation can be a good way to start. I find that the number one mistake most people make is to try to do too long. That the mind takes a while to calm down, and the consistency, meaning, days in a row, those kind of things that you do, are more important than the length of session when you start. So we
mm,
start people with 2 minutes, you know, and I find if somebody like starts with 20 minutes, your mind is kind of wild. I mean, my mind's kind of wild. I've been doing it, for 25 years. So um, but 2 minutes I can handle. And if I do 2 minutes every day for a few weeks, my mind starts to settle down for a little bit, and then I can go 3, 4, 5.
mm,
And I actually find that people want to go a little more as the mind calms down, because it is peaceful. But if you try to do too much, then so the guidance I give is try to do it as many days as you can. If you want to start 3 days a week, fine. But you try to get to every day. If you miss a day, don't miss two. Try to do it the same time of day. Eventually the morning's better, but don't worry about that when you start. And just try to be consistent with that.
mm,
The other thing that can really help is some body movement. Like yoga is meditation. Doesn't have to be. It can be just stretching, you know. But in ancient, I mean, it's thousands of years old, and they prepared the body to sit, because they didn't have chairs like we had, right? Like we have. So they prepared the body to be able to sit comfortably, because it's important to be comfortable. And when I place my attention in my body, my mind calms down. And it's
mhm.
also a practice of placing my consciousness somewhere. I can place my consciousness in my left toe, my right toe, big toe. I can place it in my left shoulder. And when I put it there, there's an effect. Things go at 90-degree angles. My mind calms down. Similarly, the meditation that I prefer, but there's a lot of great meditation. I prefer breath meditation, where I just follow my breath in and out of my body. When I follow my breath, my mind calms down. Why I like that the best is because I'm breathing all the time. And what I want to happen is that during the day, when a stressful situation comes up, I just notice myself breathing. Meditation is not for the session that you have that can be delightful eventually. It's for the impacts of it throughout my day. So when somebody comes, pulls out in front of me, or gives me the finger, or says something that insults me, or it's just stressful, the beauty of it is often, not always, but often, I just notice myself breathing. From there, I can handle anything. From the thoughts of, my initial thought would be not nice, usually, or
Right.
fight or flight or something, right? But if I can just note, that gives me an automatic pause, a relaxing, and then from there I can reload. I might say, well, I got to take a walk. But even that is huge. So I like breath meditation because it's very organic. And I have found personally that at stressful times during the day, it just pops in. It just, I'm just breathing. So, but
So,
I would say whatever apps are a great way to get started for people.
Mhm.
But if you do that, I say still try to do a minute or two of just simple breath meditation before or after, so that you get some of the non-meditation time benefits later on. Right? I mean, you're not going to, if something happens today, you're not going to plug the CD in, or, I mean, sorry, it's not a CD anymore. There, I just gave my age away. You're not going to turn your app on, probably.
right,
Right.
right.
So I want to be able to handle stress in the day just naturally. And that's what I'm training myself for.
Um, and what about now? You think about organizations as a whole, and a lot of them, they're made up of people, and collectively, those people have a hard time focusing together. How does can mindfulness help that, and how would a corporation go about, trying to get alignment and focus? I guess.
Yeah, I write about this some in my book that's coming out. But um, well, first of all, it is an individual thing. And if you want the organization to be mindful, it's very important for the top of the organization to be bought in. So if that's the CEO, I mean, for the CEO to say, yeah, they should be meditating is not going to be helpful.
Right.
Meditation's got to own it. And I say, well, and don't, do it yourself for a while first. So your practice is steady, because we live in a skeptical world. And if I'm not steady in my practice and secure in it, it doesn't take much, board member or whatever tell me I'm nuts, and maybe I don't practice tomorrow. So I say, I have get your own practice in, and then you just find some sweet spots. You'll notice some other people in the company that might be more amenable to it than others. Sharing a book can be a great way, because if somebody's not into it, they just don't answer you, you know.
Mm.
But if they are, they'll come back, geez, I read that was great. Or you can also do some non-meditation kind of workshops that are mindful, but they aren't formal meditation, because some people, no matter what, are going to resist formal meditation.
Mhm.
Just culture, I mean, and it doesn't have to be for everybody. So I would go slow. I would find my allies and find some formal meditation practices to find ways to be more mindful, work it in. The best way to share it is when somebody comes up to you and says, geez, I notice a difference in you. What's going on? How come you're not getting upset like you used to? How come, that bad quarter didn't bother you? How come, you were so nice to that person when they were mean to you? Whatever it is, somebody say, what's going on with you? That's the epitome, is just to be it and to see it. But you have to be patient. We can't, I mean, when everybody starts, often they go, oh, geez, my spouse should do this. Oh, geez, this so-and-so at work needs this. No, I need it. Right. And then if they see it and they want to try it, great.
Mhm.
But the beauty of it is once you do it for a bit, your perception of the world changes. You're more open, and other people are more likely to change when you're in that state. than if you're just in the default, white knuckling, trying to get through state. Because that just mirror neurons and a lot of different things means, I receive back what I give out in the world. And if I start giving out mindfulness, presence, compassion, those kind of things, then I will see more of those things out there, and other people will react more that way towards me, because that's the human condition. If if I come out swearing at somebody, what do I get back? So it's a great corporate. What I really love about corporate mindfulness is that corporations are the great melting pot. We have all the races, all the religions, all the ideologies, all the genders and everything in America, but where they melt is at work. That's where people really, anywhere in the world, that's where people really melt and get on and have to get along and have to do these things. Plus, then I get it at work. I take it home. I share it with my spouse. I'm just different. I share it with my kids. It goes to Cub Scouts. It goes to church. It goes to the sports team. It's just a great business is leverage. Everybody is touched either when they go to the store or at work or something. Everybody's touched. And if business could take this on, I think they could shift the whole world. And that's what I'm up to. I think they could shift the whole mindset and just get, this unproductive division, divisiveness. Business is the key to it. I mean, it's not going to be the politicians. It's not going to be the lobbyists. It's not going to be the newscasters. It's not.
No,
But business,
because they thrive off of divisiveness. So.
But it's bad for business. It's awful for business. Business is, I mean, the idea, I see some people limiting their customers to people of certain ideologies or employees. I mean, that's crazy. To me, that's just not good business. I think good business is providing a product that people want to buy. If it can make a difference in the world, great, but it's got to make a profit. And I want the widest market and the most employees that I can have access to. And, I'll take my ideologies to Sunday mornings and, to the ballot box, and my private, I'm going to still have feelings and I want, but or should those be driving the business? I don't think so. We have in ours, we have left, right, gun totes, non-guns, we have everything. And we try to focus, what do we get along on? What do we agree on? Let's focus on, and we agree on way more than we disagree on.
Yeah, I've found that. So what is the thing that gets in the way of mindfulness then? Like, what are kind of those key pitfalls maybe, or things people could run into?
Time is a big one. The perception that we don't have time, at least. And I would just say start really little, and increases in productivity more than make up for it is the remedy for that. Start small. When you want to do more and have time to do more, do more. If you want to go to a yoga retreat later, do one, and if you want to increase your practice, but start small with the intention of being mindful. The other is culture. I would say keep it pretty private when you start, because, my friends I grew up with still laugh at me. Let them laugh. I'm happy. Let them laugh if they want. I'm happy. And I mean, but that's just culture, right? Anything that's different, until it gains enough so that more people are doing it than not doing it, people are going to criticize it and make up things, especially if they're not doing it. So I would keep it private until I was solid enough to know that this is part of my life, like brushing my teeth. That I know that if I get criticized, that I'm just going to laugh it off, that I'm not going to be able to be thrown off my game, particularly like in a business setting. If your boss comes up and says, what are you doing that mindfulness stuff for? That would not help my practice. So I don't want to lie about it, but I don't think you have to come out and tell everybody what you're doing.
Right.
And also when we introduce it at bigger settings, I don't call it meditation. I say, let's do a little centering. Let's just take a few deep breaths, come into our body. Nobody minds that. Everybody gets that. It's instant relief. but but I give up that everybody's going to be a meditator, everybody's going to do yoga or whatever else. I think that'd be weird too,
Mm.
but can we be more mindful? Absolutely. The simple intention is huge. Backed up with some practices is really powerful.
Mm. Well, Eric, this has been a fascinating conversation. I'd love to hear the like top 3 things you want to keep on people's minds.
I would say number one, if you're going to start anywhere, just start with some gratitudes, like 3 gratitudes a day. What are you
Mm.
grateful for and why? Is huge. It's I call it the lowest hanging fruit. It's an instant mindset change. And then second, I would say just start being aware of your breath. Just start being aware of your breathing when you're sitting anywhere, at a stop sign, at your desk, everywhere. If that morphs into that you can start doing a few minutes of meditation, great. But you can start just by following, like just a simple close your eyes and listen to your breathing for a minute.
Mm.
Can be just so calming, or a few big breaths. I'd start small, even with that, and then have the intention to increase it as you can. And the third, I'd say, particularly for business, is service work. It's just such a big thing. It's just so great for the communities that we live in. It changes your whole karma. It's 10 times better than cold calling. Depending on the business, how you do it or whatnot is might be different. But getting out in community and providing service work changes everything. Changes your mindset, and it changes your flow of the people that you're hanging around, other givers, more generosity, and you start to feel the compassion of some of the things going on in the world. I think that's how capitalism works. I'm a capitalist. I love business. And I think it works when people who can do more, not necessarily because they have to or they're taxed, but just because they can. And it just makes you feel better. And I find so many opportunities, not why I do it, but when I go into service work, there's always opportunities presented. People love to deal with other givers.
Good advice.
There's 3.
Yeah. Well,
3.
where can folks find out more about what you do and share a little bit about your book?
Yeah. So livinginthegap.org, spelled out, livinginthegap.org is our website. We have a 9-month mindful leadership program. We're kicking off an 8-week corporate mindfulness program in January. In Northern Colorado and Denver. That's not available on Zoom yet worldwide, but someday it probably will be. And that's all of our programs. There's practice meditation sessions or mindful movement on the free resources there. Some books to get started with. And then, March 7th is the launch of Profit with Presence, the 12 Pillars of Mindful Leadership, where it's a book that I've laid out my experience and also researched other experience, like the corporations like SAP and Google and Aetna, and lay out the theory of the practice and why it works, and then 12 pillars that can help guide you. And it's set up that you can take it as shallow or as deep as you want to go. And start the practice. And at the end of it, it talks about about being a mindful CEO, about a mindful corporation. And then I lay out a new cultural worldview that I think that we need a different little angle on our cultural worldview of, profit's not a purpose. It's just not. It's awesome. It lets us do so many things. But I need to have a higher purpose than just money or profit. Money I say affluence increases influence. If I have some money, I can make a much bigger difference in my family, in the community, in my friends, in my own life.
Right.
But it's not what I get up every day to chase.
No.
I want to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And I want all the good things. I find you can have it all. And business is the key to it, I believe. Profit with Presence.
All
Available for pre-sale on Amazon. Hop on.
All right. Well,
Great.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Eric, for your time and your insight.
Thank you. I've enjoyed being on.
Thanks. And then to our audience, until next time, keep your organizations healthy.
Hey! So tomorrow